So I've finally seen Godzilla vs. Kong, twice in fact, once in theaters in IMAX and then again on HBO Max. And after giving it time to ruminate in my head for a bit, I think I can safely say that I was mostly satisfied with the film as a whole, though that does come with a bit of a caveat that I'll get into. Keep in mind that these are my first impressions, so my thoughts could and probably will evolve over time. If you recall, I didn't come out of King of the Monsters with glowing praise at first. It took a while and a few more viewings to really warm up to it, so the same could happen here. With that being said, Godzilla vs. Kong is a great versus film, which at the end of the day is what we want in a movie titled Godzilla vs. Kong. If you came to see Godzilla and Kong fight, if that's the one thing you care about, then you will absolutely get your money's worth, because holy cow do they go at it here. This rematch did not disappoint, and every moment of it is captured beautifully. There is no darkness or weather effects hiding things. Half of the fighting is during the day, and the main bout in Hong Kong, while at night, is steeped in neon lighting that saturates the fight with color that really gives it a unique feel. Also giving this entry a unique feel is its embrace of the absurd. While the other films in the Monsterverse, with the exception of Gareth Edwards' utterly serious Godzilla, have an obvious layer of silliness, this film takes it to new levels. The science has reached near magic levels, and the plot is essentially a bare-bones excuse to have Godzilla and Kong fight while offering some cool visuals in between. And that's totally okay. The Godzilla franchise has no shortage of ridiculous tech, plot developments, and narrative shorthand. Godzilla vs. Kong is essentially a later Showa-era film with a $200 million budget, which is kind of awesome when you think about it. I think we have to remember that this is a kid's film. Director Adam Wingard has said as such, and so I ask myself, if I had viewed this as a kid, would I have watched it over and over again until my parents were sick of it? And the answer is absolutely yes, and so in this way, the film is a success. I guess what's keeping me from being truly ecstatic about it is that, at least compared to the other films, this one really feels like empty spectacle. This is a fast-paced movie, and it is clear that every ounce of fat has been trimmed to make this as short as possible. People complained about the human characters taking up too much screen time in the previous films, and this is a clear reaction to that. There is no depth to this movie, like at all. While the previous films at least had some thematically rich stuff going on underneath, Godzilla vs. Kong has nothing. Like absolutely nothing. Sure, the story elements are there. Mechagodzilla can be seen as a twisted abomination against nature, but that's really stretching it. With everything trimmed away, it just becomes a big robot that Godzilla and Kong have to fight. And that's fine. Not every Godzilla movie has to aspire to have meaning of some kind behind the noise. And indeed, this is not the first film of the franchise for this to be the case. But as a Godzilla dork, I would have appreciated a little something to add a little depth to the title bout. The other thing that sort of hampers my initial reaction is that even compared to the other Monsterverse films, the human cast here is really paper thin. This is no doubt a consequence of the trimming of the fat. I get the sense that a lot of content was cut, as evident by the comically quick blink and you'll miss it appearance of Lance Reddick, who says one line and then leaves. Aside from Gia, there's no heart to any of these characters. They just hang around to provide points of view to the monster action, and half-handedly explain the pseudoscience in an effort to hand-wave away the absurdity. This works better for the Team Kong plotline than the Team Godzilla plotline, which, while I understand needed to be there to connect the Mechagodzilla revelation to the overall story, but it just didn't really engage me all that much. Thankfully, it was never too long before we got back to Team Kong and their journey to the Hollow Earth. Everything with that was pretty cool. Also, I thought the score by Junkie XL was pretty forgettable, at least compared to the two Godzilla movies. It just feels like another generic blockbuster soundtrack, though I do think Kong's theme is pretty decent. Godzilla's is okay, but it would have been way better had they continued using a dark twist of the Ifukube theme. Where Godzilla vs. Kong really shines though is in its depictions of its two leads. Both Godzilla and Kong are given a ton of personality, though it is Kong who is the true leading man here, which is not surprising. Kong has always been the more sympathetic monster, and so it makes sense that we would follow his story while Godzilla is made to be the antagonistic force. And this works really well, because they don't ever undersell how out of its depth Kong is against Godzilla, which I really appreciated. Unlike the original, Kong isn't given any magic new superpowers here in order to make it a more even fight. He is obviously the weaker monster, and while he is able to hold his own to a certain extent and get in a few good hits, at the end of the day, Godzilla is just too powerful and too durable, and so Kong doesn't win, which also surprised me. With Kong being the underdog, I had expected him to come out the victor, but he doesn't. He loses quite definitively, and for a good reason, which I really liked. It's clear that everyone involved in creating and choreographing this fight took it seriously and thought about it to its logical conclusion. And what makes it work even better is that you feel it. You feel for Kong. By the end of the film, the poor guy is on his last leg. He looks like hell, and you really feel sorry for him. For all its narrative shortcomings, this is where Godzilla vs. Kong succeeds. Kong is the star. He is the emotional heart. And so when the film ends with him dealing the finishing blow to Mechagodzilla and finally making it home after making peace with the G-Man, I was satisfied. I want to see more of this Kong. He really is a great kaiju. At the end of the day, Godzilla vs. Kong is a fun time so long as you go in accepting the fact that this is a kids movie featuring Godzilla and Kong fighting. It taps into your inner child, the one that sat down with their monster toys and smashed them together, stopping every so often to have their human figures give justifications as to why you were doing so. It doesn't aspire to be anything more than a monster beat-em-up brawl movie, which is both its greatest strength and its greatest weakness. So those are my initial quick thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong. Obviously, you can expect more extensive thoughts further down the line after I have given it numerous more rewatches. In the meantime though, I want to know what you thought. Did Godzilla vs. Kong satisfy you? Let me know in the comments, and stay tuned to Up From the Depths for more opinions on Godzilla, Kong, and every kaiju in between. Take it easy, and as always, long live the king.